All right, folks, this is the last thing that I'm going to show you how to do. And today, in this video, we are going to link up this idea of slope as a rational function with what you learned on day one the other day, where we learned about special cases of rational functions. So I've given you f of x here. We've got a function x squared minus 10 when x is equal to 4. And what I want you to do here is I want you to not only identify slope as a rational function, but I want you to go one more step and simplify that function. And here's what I mean by that, okay? So we have, we're going to do what we did in the last video. We're going to represent slope as a rational function. So we're going to say m is equal to, and then we're going to write the function that we have here, x squared minus 10 in parentheses, x squared minus 10 minus, and then we're going to plug our x value into the function. 4 squared, that's 16, minus 10, 16 minus 10, that's 6. And so minus 6. Over x minus whatever the x value is, 4. So we're going to put a 4 here. And then we have to simplify this, right? So we've got negative 10 minus 6. We can combine those. Negative 10 minus 6 is negative 16. So now slope as a rational function in this case is x squared minus 16 over x minus 4. Okay? And so now I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to get rid of this because we already simplified it, right? Now, we can actually go another step, because do you remember the other day when we learned about special cases? We learned that we could graph and simplify our rational expressions if we identify whether there is a whole or a vertical asymptote. And so what we would do is we would do synthetic division, or we would factor. And what I'm going to recommend to you here is to do synthetic division. Okay? If the remainder is equal to 0, then we know we can factor it out and cancel. If it's not equal to 0, then we leave it as it is. Okay? So we're going to what we're going to do is we're going to put a 4 in the half box. Then we're going to put a 1 for the x squared. Notice that there is no x to the first power. And in synthetic division, if we skip over a power, we have to put in a 0. Then we're going to put a negative 16. Then we're going to draw our line here. We're going to put a 0 here. 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 plus 0 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. And negative 16 plus 16 is equal to 0. And I'm going to tell you, this is actually going to happen every single time. When you do these slopes as a rational function, it's always going to want, if you do it the way we have been doing it, if you do it the right way, then you will always, when you do your division, you will always get a remainder of 0. And what that leaves us here is x plus 4, right? Because our power, 2, has to go down by 1 to the first power. So this is 1x to the first power plus 4. So we have x plus 4. And what that means is that this slope equation, slope as a rational function, it factors out to x minus 4 times x plus 4, and it's over x minus 4. Okay? Now, you might have already known that, because look at this. This numerator, x squared minus 16, that's a difference of squares. You may already know, hey, I can factor that. I didn't have to do synthetic division. And that's fine. But sometimes what's in your numerator may be more complicated than a difference of squares, and therefore you may want to consider using synthetic division in the more challenging, the more difficult cases. If you do not know how to factor it, then you may want to consider using synthetic division. But now that we have the slope function factored, we can now cancel x minus 4, and now we know that slope is equal to whatever is left over. Slope is equal to x plus 4. However, x cannot equal 4, because you remember in that video from the other day, we had to identify that there is a domain restriction. As long as we do not plug 4 into this function, then we are safe, because what's happening at 4? There's a hole at 4. right? And so we cannot plug 4 in, all right? But if we were to plug in any other number, for example, if we were to plug in a 3 here, plug in a 3 here, okay, we would have the point 3 times squared is 9. 9 minus 10 is -1. So at the point 3 and -1, the average slope, and I told you in the last video that this gives us an average slope, not the actual slope. Because on a parabola, the slope is not the same all the time. It constantly changes, okay? Constantly changes, constantly changes. That's interesting. Okay. So, so between the point 4 and 6, right, and the point 3 and -1, there's an average slope. There's an average slope of 3 plus 4, which is 7. Now, I know a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense to you. I know a lot of this, but trust me, it's all going to come together. For now, all I want you to be able to do is identify slope as a rational function and then simplify it to this point, okay? To make things easier for you, instead of giving you any kind of explanation at all, let's just do one together so that you can see exactly what it is that I want you to be able to do. Okay, here we have another function with an x value -2, and here's what I want you to do with this information. First, I want you to identify the slope of this function as a rational function. Second, I want you to simplify using synthetic division and canceling out. I want you to simplify the slope as a rational function into something that is not a rational function, okay? Or actually, it could wind up as a rational function. Usually it doesn't, but in this case it will, okay? So I represent slope as a rational function, then simplify that function, okay? Okay, so we're going to say m is equal to f of x, which is this function here. So we're going to write this inside of parentheses, 3x to the 4th plus x minus 4 minus. Now we have to plug -2 into this. So it's 3 times -2 to the 4th power plus -2 minus 4. Well, -2 to the 4th power, that's 16. Not -16, you have to do -2 times -2 times -2 times -2. Okay, you got to have that -2 inside of parentheses. If you're going to do it in a calculator, you have to do parenthesis -2, close parenthesis, to the 4th power, and that's going to give you positive 16. And positive 16 times 3 is 48. Plus -2 means -2 minus 4. 48 minus 2, that's 46. 46 minus 4, that's 42. So minus 42. All over x minus -2, right? Because our x1, the x value we're given is -2. So if I put a -2 here, we'll have x minus -2. Well, minus negative means plus. So x plus 2. So now we'll just simplify the numerator here, and we'll have m equals 3x to the 4th plus x. And you're only ever going to have to simplify by combining these constant terms. We've got a minus 4 minus 42. -4 minus 42 is -46. So minus 46 over x plus 2. X plus 2. And so we have finished step 1. We have identified slope as a rational function. Okay, let's get rid of this. Make it a little less confusing. Now we're going to do I forgot to put, this should be a plus x. I'm sorry I didn't put a plus in there. It should be a plus x. Now we're going to do synthetic division to simplify this, because we have this divided by this. So I'm going to put -2 in the half box, because -2 is the root of x plus 2. Then for all my numbers here, I've got a 3x to the 4th, so that's 3. Then I have to put x to the 3rd. There is no x to the 3rd, so I'm going to put in a 0. Then I have to do x to the 2nd. There is no x to the 2nd, so I'm going to put in another 0. Then I have to put in x to the 1st. Well, there's x to the 1st. What's in front of x to the 1st? A positive 1. So I'm going to put in a 1. Then I have a minus 46. and we are expecting the remainder to be 0. It should be 0, or we did something wrong. So I put a 0 here. 3 plus 0 is 3. 3 times 2 is negative 6. Plus 0 is negative 6. Negative 6 times negative 2 is positive 12. 12 plus 0 is 12. 12 times negative 2 is negative 24. And negative 24 plus 1 is negative 23. Negative 23 times negative 2 is positive 46. And negative 46 plus 46 is 0. So we sure enough did. We got a remainder of 0. And so now, our slope, our final answer, m, is going to be equal to this down here. This is our answer right here, but we have to turn it into a polynomial. When we started the division, it was an x to the 4th power, meaning this is an x to the 3rd power. So our slope function is 3x to the 3rd power minus 6x squared plus 12x minus 23, and x cannot equal negative 2. Ta-da! There we go. And this would be your final answer. Okay? So that's all that I want you to be able to do. If you can do all this, if you can do one of those, and if you got to watch this video a couple times, then you have to, and do every single problem that I give you, and you'll be better at this. I'm telling you, this is at the heart of calculus. This is literally pre-calculus because this is at the doorstep of calculus. If you can do this, you can do calculus. Trust me on this, okay? And that's all I have for you. After this is the last video we have, we'll have a test next, and then we'll start on to a new subject, okay? Have a good day.